Hey everybody, and welcome to another Terrainify tutorial. Today, I will be showing you how we paint and make our Overgrowth tan theme on our new Hydra Rock formation. For the full list of products and materials used, check out the description below. So first, there are two slightly different versions of this model. One that includes a cave and one that does not. Second, this model includes an optional scatter terrain universal base, or stub. For this tutorial, I will be using the cave version mounted on the stub. So let's get started. Step 1 is base coating the entire model in a rich dark brown or burnt umber. Don't forget to base coat the inside of the cave if that's the version you're painting. You may want to switch to a smaller brush to get into the harder to reach areas. I've already completed this step, so we can move on to step 2. For step 2, we're going to dry brush two different colors onto just the rocky areas. First a light brown, followed by an off-white. Starting with the light brown, dry brush the entire model, including the inside of the cave. Again, you may find it easier to use a smaller brush for the cave. Let it dry a few minutes and repeat the process with the off-white paint. Step 3 is flocking. We'll be using a couple different types of material for this. Our base flock is a dark green Superleaf, which will then top with a mixture of green coarse flock. Start by using a wet flat brush to spread your white PVA glue onto the flat areas. Make sure to spread it to the edges and up against the rocky areas. Now apply the dark green Superleaf in a thick enough layer that you can no longer see any paint. Okay, stay with me and trust the process. Use your thin sealer on the flock. It should absorb nicely and not drip off the sides. Now we can move on to step 4, which is adding our vines. For this step, you'll want to use a small brush and a small container for your white PVA glue. And you'll need a second empty container for the flock. First, we're going to do a mix of our two flocks. We'll only need a small amount of each one. Next, using a damp brush and starting at the bottom of the model, paint the glue in a vine pattern. Vary the thickness of the glue and the width of the vines. Work in one section at a time and connect all your vines. Then we're going to apply the flock mixture. Gently shake or tap off the excess. You should have some area of vines that are really thick and full and other areas that are thinner and a little sparse. Now continue this process until you have vines covering the entire model. Now, using only the green mixture of coarse flock, apply it in very large patches on a still wet Superleaf. You don't need to knock off any of the excess since these are areas of really thick growth. And we're going to once again use our thin sealer and seal our coarse flock mixture and the vines. Once again, the flock will absorb the sealer, so you shouldn't see too much of it drip off the sides of the base. Now onwards to step 5. So begin this step while everything is still wet because this will be really helpful. Pick out some areas to add dark green clump foliage. Apply PVA glue directly to these spots, then add the clump foliage. You can break it into smaller pieces if you think some of the clumps are too big. Clump foliage is very heavy compared to the other flocking materials we used, and the glue will help keep it in place better when it's dry. Place larger bundles of the clump foliage closer to the vertical sides, smaller clumps in more open areas. Add a bit of sealer to just the clump foliage. Now we set the train aside to dry for several hours. All right, I've checked our newest terrain model and everything is dry. There are a few spots where the flock didn't completely cover the paint, so we're going to fix that right now with our last step of placing the grass tufts. I'm using green 6mm grass tufts that look like they've never missed a day of watering. First, I'll place them on any spots that need to be covered using some white glue and group several together to create some nice bright patches. This is a verdant theme, so we try to always group several grass tufts together in each spot. Create several areas of grass surrounding the vertical areas and a few in the more open spots. When you're happy with the look, you can set it aside for the final dry time. The Overgrowth theme is so lush and bright. It is very much a standout theme that will highlight any terrain model. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you did, please like, comment, and subscribe. Also check out Terrainify.com for this model and others, along with our STL files. Please be sure to follow us on Facebook for sneak peeks of new models and more. Thanks for watching.